Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 72 of the Unknown Comics Podcast. I'm Brandon. That's Chris. And joining us is Ryan Rumley, our buddy in DFW area and owner of... What's your comic company? Rabbit
Nocturnal
Hole?
Rabbit.
Nocturnal Rabbit, sorry.
Rabbit Hole. I'm changing the name. There we go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Nocturnal Rabbit. And I'm assuming the website is nocturnalrabbit.com.
Correct.
All right.
Is there audio coming from that? I'm still hearing
It is coming from my laptop, isn't it?
It's like there is something still happening.
There we go. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's much better. I was like, it is looping, and I don't know where it's coming from.
All right.
We gotta love things.
Wait.
So, Ryan, first of all, how do you feel being the follow-up to Nathan Zerdy, as he was our guest last week?
I feel like you took a step up this week. Just don't tell Nathan I said that.
Yeah.
He's pretty humble about it, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you joining us, and we custom tailored our topic just for you, because for the first time we actually have 3 proper Star Wars fans.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm proper, but I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
I'm working on it.
Better than Darren.
Yeah.
Darren's just a Grogu fan.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah.
That's
once a baby.
What? Hang on. Does he call him Grogu or does he call him Baby Yoda?
Calls him Baby Yoda mostly.
Okay,
Yeah.
So he's not actually truly. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
That's what we need to know.
He likes the idea of Grogu, but not in practicality. So,
I do apologize for my background, everybody. We're in the process of moving, so forgive that.
Hey, just know the audio listeners, they won't care. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you are joining us live, don't forget you can always catch us anywhere that you get podcasts. We have our audio-only version uploaded there. And then, of course, you can also, if you can't catch us live, the video version is uploaded on YouTube usually the next day. If you are listening to us on podcast, if you do want to join in the chat and join us live, we do that Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central. Almost every week. So
Much as we can.
as much as we can.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
So this is what we kind of got going on the store right now. We just started our buy 3, get 3 winter sale. It's going to be going on through Monday morning. So get to the website. Again, buy 3, get 3 free, exclusives, ratios, all kinds of fun stuff available right now on that sale. It is for a limited time. We also still have a few left of our original art buy-in, where you can win a piece of original art from Clayton Crane. It's a beautiful black cat. We value that around $5,000 retail. You can get an exclusive bundle deal. It's about $100. It is $100, and it comes with a lot of books for $100. Lots of exclusives, ratios, all kinds of fun stuff, and that gets you a shot at winning that original art from Clayton Crane. I think we had like 40-something bundles left last time I looked, and we're about to start building those this week, and they'll be shipping out next week. So,
Fantastic.
pretty big, cool deal there. And then as far as exclusives goes, had a lot of great exclusives come out this week. Gambit and Rogue, which is actually Rogue and Gambit, sorry.
Yeah.
Number 2 from David Nakayama, absolutely stunning cover. We got another David Nakayama cover tomorrow for Spider-Man. And then we also have Zerdy's full first launch happening next week with Sins of Sinister, Deadly Regenesis, which was that magic cover.
Sins of Sinister Dominion.
It's
X-23 is Deadly Regenesis.
Yeah, we're going to be launching a book next week that you guys saw on here last week from Zerdy. Anyway,
if you would like to see the art and the proper titles of said titles, every Friday on YouTube, you can catch This Week at Unknown, where we show off the books that we will have coming out the next week. So there you go.
And then we'll have our next Icon variant from Scott Williams, which is going to be Sabretooth for Wolverine 32. And then the X-Men blank 1963 blank, we are going to be doing a new printing of that because Marvel's doing another printing. And we out, so we're going to be doing another blank.
And that's the facsimile?
The facsimile
with the
of
ads and everything?
1963, yep.
Nice. Fantastic.
Yeah, so there you go. That's what we got going. What's coming out. And then, of course, don't forget to check out Whatnot shows. We should have some for me tonight and tomorrow.
Nice. Oh yeah, because Darren's not doing one tonight.
Yeah, Darren will be traveling, and he's out on an event tonight, so which is why he's not here with us.
So real quick, what cons are coming up?
So as far as conventions, we got David Nakayama and La Mole in Mexico, which Mr. Ryan should be there as well. Sabine Rich in Kansas City, around the same time, I believe. MegaCon and C2E2 at
Same
the end of the
weekend.
month. And Star Wars Celebration, of course, second week of April. That's what we got coming up over the next couple of months. This summer, we've got some stuff as well, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah. All right, Ryan. What geeky stuff were you up to this week?
I was moving.
All that geeky stuff behind you.
Well, that's no fun.
Obviously, the Mandalorian trailer dropped. I've got a lot of questions about that, so I want to watch that.
Yeah.
I
Next
assume
week.
that was this week. If not, it may have been last week, and I just watched it this week because I've been that far behind.
It all
And
blurs
then
together.
Bad Batch. Been watching Bad Batch.
Did you watch this week?
I've got I have not watched this week's yet. Yesterday's. So,
It's not
that'll be
really
tomorrow that I
spoiled,
watch
but,
that.
It's whatever.
yeah. I've introduced my kids to Voltron, so now they're watching Voltron Legendary Defender on Netflix, and they're like binge watching that.
So like the
every time
original
I come home
'80s
from work.
Voltron?
No, the new one, the
okay,
Netflix
okay.
dropped. 10 years ago now?
Yeah, it's been a
Something
bit
like
now.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Did you go see Ant-Man?
Let's see. I've seen Ant-Man.
And?
I don't know if I can say I went to go see it, but I've seen Ant-Man. And it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't
Were you sitting where you're
all
sitting
that.
now while you're watching Ant-Man?
Maybe. Very, very, very possibly.
Take that for what it is.
But I did enjoy it.
That's awesome. All right.
That's
All
all
right,
I
Hutch.
got.
What did I do?
What'd you do, Hutch?
I watched Ant-Man in a theater
Yeah.
with my kids. It was good. I liked it. I think visually, I know a lot of people are giving it flack, but I thought it was fine. Every time Darren Cross's face came up as MODOK, my daughter was like, "Ugh!" She's like freaking out. It's like scaring her, like not really scaring. I guess just disgusting is the way she thought about it. But I already told Brandon I can't wait for there to be a meme that just says my name's Darren and I'm not a dick, so I can send it to Darren all the time. So I'm just throwing that out there.
We've both got pretty decent Photoshop skills.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for the
we don't
have to wait for the meme.
I
We
just
can
need to
start it.
Get a good screen grab of
Yeah.
MODOK. Yeah, it was good. I thought it was fine. I think it pushed overall everything forward like it's supposed to, right? I kind of thought it was kind of weird how they did Kang in the end of that movie. But of course, there's a lot of Kang, so it doesn't really matter. They can just do him a different way, however they want to. So
Yeah.
but it was a good movie. Of course, Bad Batch. Been watching that. I just watched the latest episode today. Kind of finishing up the 2-part episode from last week.
Was the 2-part last week? Was that the?
So they had a 2-parter, and then they had another 2-parter.
Okay.
There was separate weeks this time.
Okay.
Yeah, but this one still kind of connects to last week's episode.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think the last episode I watched was the
2-day drop.
The 2 drop, and that's the last one we've watched. So
Which was a great episode,
that's like that episode was what I had been waiting for to see in the Bad Batch
the whole time.
Like I wanted to see what that transition looked like,
Clone Trooper
or
to
what
Stormtrooper.
it was going to look like, So
And I hope we still get to see a little bit more of that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So I think it's 16 episodes total, and today was episode like 9 or 10, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was good. And then of course, like I said, I went to the old Globe Life Field where Rangers were playing. We watched the first Arlington Renegades XFL game. It was pretty cool. The Rock was there, and of course, my kids loved that, getting to see him show up on the field. And so
did they smell what he was cooking?
He didn't say that, but he did have I can't remember what he said. I'll have to go back and watch the video later. He did have some kind of a slogan that was in that mantra of talking that he used.
He didn't call anybody a jabroni.
No, thank God. I can't stand that word. Jabroni. Gosh, it's a terrible thing. Yeah, painting models, doing things
No
like
Black
that.
Adam
Miniatures.
quotes?
What was that, Ryan?
I said no Black Adam quotes or anything.
No, nothing like that. But was really cool to see him in person. He looked really small on the field. My wife's like, why does he look so tiny? I was like, well, he's pretty far away, so that's probably part of it. And plus, all these other guys aren't short either, so he looks tall around me, but
Yeah.
6'5" to 6'8". He doesn't look like the tallest guy in the room.
Against other linebackers and defensive ends.
He's just an average guy out there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It was really cold, as you're talking about. That stadium in the heat is no fun, but it's also not that fun when it's cold outside either. So, but I was telling my kids it's probably better that it's cold than not hot, because we would just have been way, way miserable just sitting there sweating to death. So
yeah,
we could take it.
There you go. All right. So myself, I went and saw Ant-Man, and yeah, I think the consensus is it was okay. Like I didn't hate it. I mean, it was not Eternals. I didn't fall asleep 3 times during it. And it's moving the needle along, for the multiverse saga, and that's something. I think Loki is going to be the bigger one to do that. It seems like.
I think they kind of started it with Loki, and it's going to kind of come to a full story with him. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I actually went with my wife. That's the first time the two of us had just gone to a movie in quite a while, which is pretty awesome. And then I started Picard. Picard season 3.
Yeah, Picard season 3. So I'm caught up as of today. I actually watched today's episode, and it is good. This season, I'm of course
this is just going straight back into 90s generation.
It's the 8th season of Next Generation.
Yeah, I mean it's everybody's back.
Yeah. But they're introducing a new character. Not going to spoil it, but I honestly really good character. Just from the little you see of this character, and I think depending on how they play it, I have a gut feeling they're going to spin off on this character.
Yeah. It makes sense to put that much money into thing that to only have 3 seasons when hey, if we can make more money.
And what I'd be curious, is if the other Picard cast that carried over, which not many characters are carrying over from season 2 to season 3. At this point, you've only seen, with the exception of Picard, of course, you've seen 2 of them. To see if maybe they kind of go with that crew. And anyway,
it makes you wonder, since they filmed both seasons at the same time, it got to the day they were just like, all right, you guys can go. We're going to keep filming.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Goodbye, get out. We're done with you.
But I'm finally seeing, Starship stuff. And
it's actually space.
Yeah.
It's not like the season 2 where it's all just in today's world now. Boring.
Season 2 got good. It just took a while to build into it, but yeah, definitely enjoying season 3. And I believe that is it. Oh, I finished AXE finally. I finished the Judgment Day run.
You see that they just gave X-23 Laura, the original. She's now Talon.
Okay.
Because she has a clone of herself.
She doesn't have a clone.
It was an accidental
she
whoopsie, and they made 2 of her.
Yes, because they thought the other one was dead.
Yeah.
Which was hard for them. Yeah, if you have to read X-Men to understand.
So I guess the original is Talon, and the new one's still just
Wolverine. Wolverine 2?
Yeah.
West Coast Wolverine?
Something.
There you go. Ooh, I like that. West Coast Wolverine.
It's just getting confusing with all the Wolverines, man.
Wolverine Gold, Wolverine Blue.
I think Wolverine's more confusing than Spider-Man.
Yeah. it's getting there. So our main topic for tonight, and I just pulled this one out of my brain earlier today when I was like, ooh, we should talk about something.
I was going to suggest something Star Warsy, but then I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm forcing you guys into it. And then you were like, let's do Star Wars talk. I was like, fine.
No, I read the room. I know. And,
I don't even like Star Wars.
No.
Well, yeah, you're not wearing a Vader Anakin shirt.
So, real quick, Ryan, and audio listeners, you'll definitely want to go catch the video version later. Show off that thing you showed off to us earlier, because that was awesome.
Just the one, or you want me to show all 4 of them? Or?
Well, you just show off what you're.
No, we'll show just the one.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right, so
Show me your light sticks.
this is
So
the Ahsoka.
I'll try to be descriptive. So we are seeing a wooden box with a latch with Orabesh on it, and it's kind of a light grayish blue, very Ahsoka-like pattern
Yeah, very
on the
much.
box.
Looks just like her what tendrils. I don't forget what they call
It's
them.
kind of her head tattoo, isn't it? Or no, that's just her pattern.
Yeah, and it plays music when you open it, which is what you're hearing right
Yeah.
now.
It's got a plaque of authenticity. Is that like the certificate of authenticity in Orabesh?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, in metal with
metal.
the number.
Now, do these actually come with tubes to light up, or is it just the handles?
No, it is just the hilts themselves.
Yeah.
But the actual blades, you can get those, from Disney, from Savvy's workshop, or from the different places there, and it'll fit the different sizes and all that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I plan on taking that to. I was going to originally take it with me to Star Wars Celebration because I saw Rosario and Ashley were both going to be there. And then I was like, man, I hate to carry this on the plane all the way to England. And then obviously we're doing MegaCon first, so I'm going to have to take it to Orlando and then carry it with me. But then I saw they were both going to be in Orlando, so that was the plan. And then I was going to have it shipped back. But now they're both going to be in Dallas, so I'll just get it done in Dallas.
As
There
I
you
say, yeah, if they're both signed up for all the Fan Expo shows this year, that's great.
The tour.
Yeah.
Because I think Anakin or Hayden Christensen's at a lot of the Fan X shows this year as well. I don't know if he'll be in Dallas, but he'll be in Orlando.
He is.
He'll be in Dallas.
He's in Dallas.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
As of right now, Ewan McGregor is not scheduled to be there, but I have been talking to Rich about making that happen. So.
Rich, make it happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Do it, Rich.
Come on, Rich.
All right, so the main topic we're going to explore tonight is our top 3 Star Wars Expanded Universe characters, and it was kind of hard for me to put this in like the summaries and everything. The caveat was Expanded Universe characters that we would like seen brought into Disney canon, and they're kind of part and parcel. I mean, we wouldn't be picking them if they also were not our favorite EU characters, right? Yeah. But I guess the characters that haven't already been brought in. So like Thrawn would have definitely been on my top 3, but he's technically already part of it.
Yeah.
There is a good chance. And on some of our lists, there's a good chance we probably will see them. Or hopefully. I don't know. Well, I say that. Maybe not.
Maybe
I don't know
not
about our
yours.
list, but like Thrawn as an example, I would say he would have been one of my top 3 as well.
Yeah, I think
and
for sure.
While he is canon, I mean, I think we're going to see more of him. Obviously, we saw him in Rebels, right? And we're going to see him, I would assume, in Ahsoka because she's searching for Ezra. We got that from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
That's why
they made it
obviously
seem like she was more searching actually for Thrawn because she knows Ezra's with him.
Right,
would be my guess, yeah.
Yeah. So have they announced casting for Thrawn yet?
I think
is it Lars Mikkelsen? Because so he did the voice
IMDb
in Rebels.
I know at one point somebody had said something about what's his face that played Draco's dad.
Crap.
He was also in Star Trek.
Yeah, he was in Discovery. No.
I had his name, but I know at one point he was fan casted, and I don't know if that was an official thing or whatever. But he'd been a good person for it. I feel like.
Yeah. He would be good. Bendy Straw Cracker Jack.
Does not look like we have any announcement there.
Yeah,
I
and
do
I think
have
they probably just
Ezra.
leave that.
We have Sabine.
Now, was Ezra actually the kid from Disney or from Aladdin, or is it somebody else?
Iman Esfandi.
No. Ezra is not the Rebels voice.
No. The guy that played Aladdin.
No, it's somebody else.
Live action. I know that was fan casted for a while too. I haven't been paying attention because I kind of want to be surprised on some of these things.
Jason Isaacs, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
Is Lucius Malfoy.
I knew it was like 2 freaking first names kind of things, and I was like, I can't know what it is.
I think Benedict Cumberbatch would be like really
that would be
casting.
pretty spot on too. Yeah.
But I will say, as far as Thrawn's voice goes, like they nailed it with Lars Mikkelsen in Rebels. Like he just had that cool, calculated voice that's what you expected Thrawn to say. If you had read, Heir to the Empire and all that stuff, that's just exactly what you thought Thrawn would sound like. Which, I mean, I guess what's his bucket that wrote Timothy Zahn had some input in a lot of what they did with Thrawn.
Yeah.
Even outside going into Disney canon. So
also now, Thrawn also has 2 trilogies, right? He's got one non-canon and one that is canon.
Yeah.
So there's also that.
Yeah.
Kind of as well.
All right. So we will. Got to pull my list up here. Sorry, I sent y'all the list, and then
I was like, your list is kind of confusing on how we're.
Well, so here's what I did: is I had us do our top 3, and then we would kind of start with our number 3, and then start with our number 2, or go to our number 2, and then go to our number 1. However, y'all's number 1s was the other person's number 3.
Okay.
So we're saving those for the end since those are kind of
that makes sense for me now.
Kind of combined.
I get that.
You see.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I understood from the start, Brandon, so don't worry about it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah. That's also why you don't have any hair.
Wow.
Or it could be the 5 kids. I mean, that too.
That's what Darren doesn't have any hair either.
Oh man, I'm lucky. I still have mine. So all right, so we'll go ahead and start with my number 3, and my number 3, and all 3 of mine actually. I'll just spoil mine. Mine came from
Mike Hammer. Let us know if you know who these people are.
I'm sure he does,
because Ryan had to look him up, and that surprised me. So I want to know if Hammer knows who they are.
So all three of my characters actually came from Dark Horse comic runs back when Star Wars and Dark Horse were well, I mean, basically Star Wars was propping up Dark Horse, that and Hellboy, but
and it's doing it again.
So my number 3 came from a series called Crimson Empire, and the character is Kirkanos. Kirkanos was an elite Imperial Royal Guardsman that he's conflicted about the Empire. So and he has this rivalry with another Royal Guardsman named Karner Jax.
So for me, being somebody who has no idea, is this Empire is the original trilogy?
So Chris, he was one of the Emperor's Royal Guard, that we saw on the red.
Yep.
And
okay.
he somehow survived. He wasn't on the Death Star when it got blown up, so he survived. And so, as Brandon's saying, he was conflicted about, okay, am I still a Emperor's Guard? That kind of thing. So, I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead.
Yeah. So no, it was a great run. It was cool just seeing. You never really got to see the Royal Guard be elite, right? This is the first time you actually got to see the Royal Guardsmen be, the reason they got that station, right? They are the most elite of the elite, right? But you only see them ever stand there. It's not until Last Jedi that you see a variation of them, actually,
get to fight,
get to do their job. So getting to see the 2 of them. They also had their own special red TIE interceptors, which were cool. Which you'll see a theme because I'm kind of a
plane guy.
The space battles were always kind of my jam in Star Wars. So anytime.
Have you played much of that Squadron game that's available?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I haven't got to. I always forget about it. It's a cool game though.
Yeah. No, I have a stick and everything. The only thing I haven't done with Star Wars Squadrons is it has VR, and I don't have a VR setup. But to actually be in the cockpit of a TIE fighter or an X-wing, I don't care, whatever. More so a TIE fighter, and be in that little claustrophobic little pod that you can only see out of a couple of little portholes. Let's do that.
I will say one of the coolest things that had
no
a Star
shields,
Wars
so you get
celebration
hit,
last year was that life-size TIE fighter.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah. You sent me that, and I hated you for a little bit.
Yeah.
I would have loved to get to go up to the. Were you actually able to look in it?
No, it was just constructed. It wasn't like metal or anything. It was mostly plastic board and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
It was just the aesthetic of seeing it in person.
Seeing a life-size TIE fighter. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, Kirkanos is my number 3. So we'll move on to Ryan's number 2.
Well, before we go to that real quick, I'm just curious. So do you recall what series he was in with Dark Horse?
Crimson Empire.
The title of what was it?
Crimson Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up because I was not aware of that one.
And just so you know, all of the Dark Horse comics are on Marvel Unlimited. So they were able to
they've
been
been reprinting a lot of those volumes as well.
All the Legends comics are on Marvel Unlimited, so you can go back and read pretty much all the runs of the characters that I'm talking about. So
all these things that don't exist anymore.
and kind of still do because
some of it will, some of it won't.
Kirkanos and my number 2 or my number 1 actually were in the X-Wing tabletop game. So those all got cleared a little bit. Mm-hmm. But they're still kind of, I mean, they're just names in the game, really. Their stories aren't, part of it.
Technically, all 3 of mine are canon, just not really. There's no story.
They haven't expanded on them, right?
Yeah.
They're mentions, yeah. All right. Number 2 for Ryan.
One other question, Brandon, just because I'm curious.
Sure.
How would you see them bringing him into canon? Like, would it be a Disney Plus series, his own solo movie?
I think that's best, and it kind of goes to exploring those other parts of the fall of the Empire, right? That we're kind of exploring in the Mandalorian. We're seeing former rebel troopers. We're seeing bounty hunters. We have yet to see a lot of former. We are seeing like Moff Gideon, who's not really former. They're the Imperial remnant, but they just haven't called it that yet.
Yeah.
Like the EU had called them. So I think in the Mandoverse would probably be a good place to bring them in. Yeah.
So. Okay. Sorry, I was just curious.
Sure. No problem. All right, you can go now.
So my number 2 was a character named Zesh, Xesh. He was from the Dark Horse series known as Dawn of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And it was a 3 5-part series. And unfortunately, when Marvel bought Lucas, or when Disney bought Lucas, everything got moved to Marvel, and that series, which was ongoing at the time, got cut and nixed. Yeah. But it's one of my favorite storylines in the sense that it dealt with the Jedi living in balance. So there was no light side or dark side. They were required to live in balance of the two. And if you went too far one way or the other, you got banished to one of the moons, either the light moon or the dark moon. And you had to go live on that moon until you restored your balance back to center balance, basically.
Yeah, this is when
Zesh was
Tython was like the hub of Jedi,
yes,
right?
Yes, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so Zesh was actually a force hound used by, and I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, but the Rakata.
The Rakata, the Infinite Empire.
Yes. And so he was a force hound that he was able to detect force-sensitive people, and he found Tython, and that was where they introduced the lightsaber. And at that time, the only way it could be ignited was through dark side abilities. Yeah. And so when he faced off against these quote-unquote Jedi, they couldn't figure out how to light the saber because they were in balance. They weren't dark side. And so it was a very interesting story. I enjoyed it, and I wished it had gone on more.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them take maybe that Dawn of the Jedi series and do, a Disney Plus, maybe 2-3 seasons of that, just telling that story and giving us the history of where the origin was.
It's 25,000 years before A New Hope. Like it is early, like they had early hyperspace, like pretty much humanity.
Now, Disney has a book that's kind of beginning of all this now, so I haven't finished it yet, but it's more of the Jedi. They don't call them Jedi, and there's Jedi. It's like very beginning. There's no Empire, there's no hyperspace, anything like that yet in this one either. So, yeah, I don't know if that book is going to lead to.
What book is that, Chris?
Hold on, I'll have to pull it up. I can tell you the exact title, but it's
because I hadn't heard of it and I haven't read it, so that may be something I'll be purchasing this evening.
Yeah, right. Let me find it.
Yeah, so that...
Yeah, because even in Dawn of the Jedi, they are not called Jedi, actually. It's spelled like Jedai or something like that.
Yeah, it's two completely different words in this. Let's see.
Sorry. I got dead air. My fault. You can message me later, Chris. Don't worry about it, bud.
whatever. I'm gonna find it.
He's committed. He's up next, so I have to wait on him.
Oh well.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
I can do mine, and then I can come back and find it.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So my number 2 is Darth Bane.
Also from Dark Horse.
And he's got his own 3 novels as well.
Yes.
I've only gotten through some of it. I need to finish that series of books, but really great. You see a lot of some of our other persons we're going to talk about influence in Darth Bane's life. He is the one that came back to the rule of 2 and why they do it that way. I just think, like, my top 3, I just feel like they need to be used more because there's a reason. Like, all 3 of them are the way the Sith are is why they are. So, they just should be talked about more and be used more in the whole story arc. I think for me, it's kind of what I went through. I don't know as much about all the older Star Wars story arcs as much as you guys do, so I kind of went with who I did know. And for sure, I feel like Bane in some way would be a really cool character to use. You come in at the end of the war between the Sith and the Jedi, and they're just destroying each other, and you see this guy come in and basically just destroy the entire Sith faith, religion, whatever you want to call them. It just in one big, like, I think it'd just be a really cool story arc to actually see visually. And I think they could do that Disney Plus wise. I mean, they could do it in movies. I don't think it would be that hard for them to do. Destroyer.
So, Chris, who would you like to see play the character Darth Bane? What actor?
I mean, he'd have
to. I have someone in mind.
He'd have to be a really bulky person, right? Because Bane was a pretty big dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
wide jaw.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Henry Cavill could play a bad dude, but he'd be body wise wide.
That's exactly who I was thinking. Yeah, I think he'd be perfect. For Darth Bane.
That's he'd be able to do it easily. Just have to be. I don't know. He's still very calculating. That's kind of how Bane is. I think Henry Cavill could do that, right? So, yeah, I think that'd be a perfect person for that.
Yeah, that or The Rock.
I was thinking of The Rock as well. Yeah, and he's 6'5".
Yeah, for me, I feel that The Rock brings too much of his own personality to the character, right? Like, you look at Henry Cavill as Superman, and it's Superman. You look at him as The Witcher, and it's The Witcher, right? It's not Henry Cavill. Whereas, like, I watch Black Adam, and I'm watching The Rock play Black Adam. I'm not watching Black Adam.
You watch the Scorpion.
That's my only concern with The Rock.
Watch the Scorpion King, and you're like, oh, this is not good. So
it was all right at the time, just okay. It just didn't live up to the Mummy movies that were there.
All right. Well, moving on to my number 2, staying with Dark Horse and staying with early Republic. Mine is Ulic Qel-Droma. So Ulic Qel-Droma is part of the Tales of the Jedi series, not to be confused with the Disney Plus animated series, which used the same logo.
Jedi Tales.
What's that? The new one?
The little Yoda one?
No, Tales of the Jedi, the one that had Dooku and Ahsoka, like the new animated series.
Tales of the Jedi? I thought it was Jedi Tales.
Yeah, it's Tales of the Jedi.
My bad.
Yeah, they use the exact same logo mark and everything, but it has nothing to do with the comic series. So, Tales of the Jedi is set 4,000 years. So this is actually about 1,000 years before Knights of the Old Republic. And there are in Knights of the Old Republic, if you played it, there are mentions to the characters in Tales of the Jedi. But yeah, so Ulic Qel-Droma is pretty much the protagonist of the first couple of series. He and his brother are Jedi, and they are they're sent to basically put down a rebellion on a planet called Onderon, which Onderon has actually been brought into canon through Clone Wars. That's where Saw Gerrera is from. That's his planet. They kind of tweaked it a little bit, but there's a lot of Onderon that actually came through. It was kind of it had a lot of characters in it. The main characters being Ulic, and then there was another character Nomi Sunrider, who was a female Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And then their storylines kind of came together to a head. Eventually, though, he falls to the dark side, and then he and another character, which I almost added him to the list as well. And I think, honestly, they'd probably have to come together. They'd almost need to be a package deal because their stories are so much about them together. His name is Exar Kun or Kun, Kun, and it's just it was an epic story, and it was about his fall and like basically his intentions, like many other Jedi that fall to the dark side. The best intention, and then before you realize you've gone too far, right? Yeah. And I mean, he ends up murdering his brother as part of it, but at the end has his redemption arc, and destroys the other, because basically Ulick and Exar both become co-Dark Lords of the Sith, and he ends up, defeating Exar Kun and basically redeeming himself later, and then dying. And it's a tragic story, but it's a really good story. So yeah, Ulick Qel-Droma is my number 2. We're gonna go ahead and jump to my number 1 because y'all's number 1s were also the other person's number 3. So we'll just get those out of the way. My number 1 from Dark Horse again is Soontir Fel. Soontir Fel is an elite TIE fighter pilot from the Rogue Squadron. So he started as a bad guy, as kind of a main antagonist in the Rogue Squadron comic series. Eventually, he does defect, but he was never really a loyal Imperial type character. He's an opportunist, let's say. So his defection is just, it's just for opportunity. So he ends up defecting eventually to the rebellion, but not after he, caused a lot of havoc with Rogue Squadron, which I honestly, of course, the Rogue Squadron movie was in development, and then it wasn't in development, but now they're saying, no, it's not done, but yeah, it kind of is. And honestly, I don't know if they were even going to go with that route, which, Wedge is a main part of Rogue Squadron.
They got completely rid of Patty Jenkins on it, though, right? Like, it's going to be somebody else now.
Yeah.
She's completely off.
I heard that announcement, and I just got so giddy. Like, even if they don't follow the Rogue Squadron, EU series, I just like seeing Top Gun in space. Like, that's just what I want. I want to see fighter battles. Do
you think they're going to go along with that, or are they going to go more along like with the Alphabet Squadron? The newer books that Hera's a part of and things like that.
I honestly, I don't know, because like I said, I mean, when they titled it, they specifically titled it Rogue Squadron, which and Rogue Squadron does feature in Star Wars Squadrons. You actually do see Wedge come in, and he mentions Rogue Squadron existing. So they have canonized Rogue Squadron. And so I would think they would go with that. Like I said, Soontir Fel was a character in the X-Wing tabletop game for that reason. His TIE fighter is awesome. It's pretty much the typical TIE Interceptor, but it's just got, like, his Saber Squadron had, like, the red lines down it. It's just badass looking. It's just hot rods, man. Hot rods in space. And eventually he plays a protagonist type part in the New Jedi Order later books, which I actually didn't read New Jedi Order a whole lot. Something about it just never appealed to me. I didn't, I had friends that were really big into it, but it just never, I don't know. Just this weird alien, non-force sensitive race just, I don't know, just never appealed to me. So yeah, Soontir Fel, or Baron Fel. He was nobility. So, and he let people know it. He's not a likable fella, but he was like a kind of an anti-hero type.
when you say it like that, I feel like, was he in the cartoons?
No, they had
Like a younger version?
they did have
Like a kid?
a version. No, they had a version of Saber Squadron in Rebels, but it was like that stuffy trainer guy with the mustache. I can't remember what his name was.
Yeah.
That was kind of leading it, but they never really
Just thought I
fleshed it out. You saw like Wedge and Hobby in the Academy.
Maybe I'm thinking of
That was the episode where Sabine goes to the academy
Yes.
and they defect, right?
Yeah.
It may be something that actually I've from Alphabet Squadron that I'm remembering. Then maybe it is more canonized in those novel series.
Yeah, he's not mentioned. I've only read the first Alphabet
Yeah.
Squadron. I haven't read any of the 2 sequels.
I'm halfway through the second one before I started doing High Republic stuff. So, but I know that when you said it that way, it like struck a chord. So I have had to have heard it somewhere.
Yeah.
So
No, I want more. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of getting tapped out on Force users, like Jedi arcs. I know that's a big part of Star Wars. I get it, but I think that's one of the reasons Mandalorian has been so popular. It is so radically different from the Star Wars stories
that
we've gotten.
Rogue One,
One, and then Andor, a Skeleton Crew coming later in the year.
Yeah.
I think those are going to definitely feel, give us more of that real world feel that we're.
Yeah. And I just, like, for me, being a kid, when of course, my brother being so much older than I was, I don't remember the first time I ever watched Star Wars. It was just always on, and I just had stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't remember ever learning that Vader was Luke's father. Spoiler alert.
You had 80 years.
Like, I just always
What?
knew. But one of the things, like, I would just stop everything. Like, if I was playing with He-Man and Skeletor on the floor, the minute the space battles came on screen, like, that was it for me.
Yeah.
And I've always just liked that aspect, and I would love to see that expanded. And yeah, like when they announced Rogue One and Patty Jenkins literally called it Top Gun in space, I'm like, yes, I'm there for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love Top Gun.
Yeah.
I want to see dogfights in space.
So
I don't care about the physics.
You want Tom Cruise to come into your Star Wars movie?
I wouldn't hate it.
I mean, if Tom Cruise would somehow find a way to make an actual space plane that he could fly.
No, he would have to get a motorcycle in space. That's really his thing,
Yeah.
is having a motorcycle.
And somehow do some things on it that,
Yeah.
well, no, now I'm getting to a Vin Diesel kind of world, so it's fine. Most of the stuff that Tom Cruise does is realistic.
all about family, Chris.
Tom Cruise,
All about family.
Tom Cruise doesn't have family. Have you watched? There's a video of a guy who's like railing on the fact that no Fast and the Furious movie has the exact same format of title.
Oh, it probably drives him crazy.
Yes, like they're all
Completely
like
different.
some use numbers, some use Roman numerals, some use the article like the Fast, some don't, and like no 2 Fast and the Furious movies have ever used the same format of title.
You go to put them in alphabetical order in your library, and you're just like,
Yeah, you're your host. You're just not going to be able to do it. So
that drive you crazy.
yeah, as far that's why I refuse to watch them for no
you
other
have
reason.
a digital library, you can rename them and put them in order. I'm just saying.
There
You can, yes, yeah. That Plex is great for that. All right, so Ryan,
Love
we're
me
going to
some
go ahead
Plex.
and go to your number one. This was also Chris's number 3, but we'll let Ryan kind of take point on it since it is his number one.
And you know more about the character
Yeah.
than I do.
He's my favorite character. So Darth Revan / Revan
Nice.
is my favorite character.
I didn't know we were bringing bobbleheads.
It falls kind of in the same genre of the Dawn of the Jedi, right? In the sense that he was a Jedi that disagreed with what the Jedi's order was telling him to do. They told him that they couldn't get involved in the Mandalorian War, and so he said, "Well, screw you guys! I'm gonna do what I want." And he took his followers, and they went off and fought the war, and he chased them to the unknown regions, and there he was turned into a Sith Lord and built an army and came back. And so the Jedi had to get involved because it was one of theirs now that was fighting. And that's where we get Bastilia Shawn, who then wipes his memory. And we then play the video game of the story of him retracing his steps and everything. And then unfortunately we got a not so great book that Drew had to write to make it fit into the storyline up to the MMO. which I wish that wouldn't have happened, but it did. But I love Revan. I obviously he's technically now canon based off the fleet that was mentioned in from the final movie. But I would love to see a 3-part trilogy movie series. The first one being the whole Mandalorian War with the end scene being them going off chasing them to unknown regions. Second movie being him the Sith Lord.
I could see them building all that up right now with us. Just all the Mandalore stuff we're doing right now. Like we've seen Jedis for the last, 50 plus years. Now we're seeing Mandalorians. So, now they can say, okay, now they know these, now they know that.
Yeah.
We could go back in time and make this make sense now. Because everybody has they have the proper exposure to it, right?
Right. I mean that's the mask that Revan wears is a Mandalorian mask, so
which you actually find out in Tales of the Jedi, from where Eli Keldroma, the importance of the mask. So the mask in Tales of the Jedi is almost like the Darksaber is now. Whoever controls the Mandalore's mask is Lord Mandalore, and it's whoever has possession of that, and then now it's the Darksaber.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting if the hilt of the Darksaber came from the mask or something like that. That's how they forged it.
That would be actually that'd be great. The mask got melted down and made into the Darksaber or something.
Yeah. That what's his bucket? I can't even remember the Mandalorian Jedi that created the Darksaber. It's mentioned in Clone Wars. I just can't remember it to save my life. Yep. Revan would have been high up in my list. Really, I mean, he is one of the scary. I'm trying to remember who was his second.
Malik.
Malik, that's right.
Yeah.
I get him.
He was bald like me.
I get Malik confused for Malgus, who was in the Old Republic MMO.
Yes. Malgus was the one that stormed the Jedi Temple and killed all the Jedi, and then was very upset that the Sith Lords did a peace treaty rather than just conquering and killing everybody.
Which, I mean, Old Republic did a lot of stuff well. It was just it was hard to kind of piece it all together and to make it make cohesive sense, which the EU just had moments like that, period. I mean, there were a lot of times where EU stuff stepped on other stuff, and it was, not pretty. And I think that was part of Disney's, Disney's intent to come in and kind of wipe the slate.
Pull what you think makes sense, right, to the overall story.
Honestly, I'd love for Disney to come out and even wipe the current canon and just say, look, only stuff that we put out in film form is going to be canon, right?
Yeah.
So that we can get writers like Drew to come back and write just legend stories and let them just have fun with it. And we get these random crazy stories. You get characters like Darth Bane and Revan and stuff like that.
And that's what Visions is, right? Yeah. Visions are kind of just these off the wall stories.
And we've gotten our first full novel from Visions, which was actually really good. I don't know if you guys listened to it at all with the Ronin. It's a really good novel.
Yeah.
Completely not attached to anything, but and I would love to see more of that.
I've had discussions about everybody wants their favorite thing to be canon, and it's okay for stuff to be not canon. In the fact that one of the biggest kind of analogies I hear about it is the Legend of Zelda video games. Each video game is its own take on
the same story,
the story of Link and Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So there, it's like mythology that over the years, there's different ways of telling the same story, and they may be, over the years completely different, right? That they can exist and they can be. Here's the thing. The Legends stuff can be entertaining. You can go back and read the Legends books today. You can go back and read the Legends comic books today and enjoy them for the stories they are. They don't have to be canonized.
Yeah.
None of it's real. It's all.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Let them go create these characters and just write these random characters that may or may not ever be used, but it gives those who are making the films stuff to pull from and go, oh, I kind of like that idea. Let's
just leave them titled kind of like they're doing the Star Wars Vision stuff, right? Like, call it Star Wars Legends or whatever you want to call it, and that way whoever the reader is, they hopefully smart enough to know
Yeah.
this is not, the actual whatever, So I think that
Right.
just like we're seeing with all the multiverse stuff for DC and multiverse for Marvel, I think eventually you're going to see Star Wars having to get to that some way somehow.
Yeah, and to a point, eventually canon's not going to matter because there's going to be so much content out there. Even with the Disney reboot, there's going to be so much content out there that no one person's going to have consumed it all, right? Like,
Yeah.
There was a point with the Disney canon. Yeah, you could have probably conceived of, if you had watched all the films and Clone Wars, and I think there were only like 2 comic series that got labeled as canon from Darker, like Sons of Dathomir, I think. Got labeled canon, and then the Plagueis book, that was written before Disney bought Lucasfilm, got brought in as canon. But yeah, there was a small window in like 2012, 2015 or whatever when that happened that you could have. But now, like, there's no way I can keep up with all the High Republic stuff and all the comic arcs and all the novels coming out. Like,
you basically gonna have to focus on one, and then you're just gonna know that you're gonna get behind on the other things, and then you're gonna have to go back and focus on that.
Yeah,
and then you're gonna get behind on the other thing, and then you have to come back.
Yeah,
focus on that.
So my point being is you don't have to consume it all anyway, right? So what does it matter if it all connects, right? And has that canon connection, right? So anyway,
I think as long as it's not like, as long as it doesn't just like completely mess up somebody's character, then, and if it does, then again you'll just label it something else.
Yeah, that
way you can tell the story however you want.
All right, Chris, you're number 1, and
Ryan's number 3.
Yep.
So, again, Revan, Bane, and then even this one, Darth Plagueis, they matter too much to the overall story to not be in there somehow. And I know that in episode 2, we see Palpatine talking to Anakin, and he talks about, is that 3?
It's in 3.
No, it was 3. Yeah,
that's when they're
talking about Plagueis, and it was his master, and he just needs to have some more to it, to know that he was around for most of the first 2 movies, and we would have never known that, unless there was this book to tell us that. I mean, it's just, this character is very important to the overall story, and fills in a lot of blanks that you may have been asking during different things, like how did Palpatine learn how to make clones, and why was he curious about living forever, and all these things, and all this stuff comes from Plagueis, who had been experimenting with Force creation for a very long time, and most likely, in my opinion, created Anakin. I don't know if you feel the same way, Ryan.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so
although I think, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they come out and say that wasn't the case, that it was Palpatine that created him or something like that in the comic?
I don't know timeline-wise how that could have happened. I
don't either.
Unless they're just, I don't know. You come from that Darth Plagueis book, and there's also a couple of Darth Maul books that kind of spin off all that as well that are really good. And I feel like they could do a lot more with that chapter before, a few chapters before episode 1. You had Master and Apprentice, which is a great book from about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That's a newer, that is canon. That just came out like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you've even got the new one, the Brotherhood book. So I mean, that's Obi-Wan and Anakin. So it's just, I feel like there could be a lot more done, kind of pre or even during episode 1 and 2 that you could see with that character. So, and then Ryan, I can let you say some stuff on him as well, since he was on your list also. So,
well, I mean, the biggest thing obviously with Dark Plagueis and with that book is it's less about the fighting, the lightsaber, the battle, that kind of stuff, and it's more about the political things going on behind the scenes, what they have to do to make this happen, and all the puzzle pieces that have to be put together to get there. And you even on the side of that, Plagueis doesn't realize it, but you've got Palpatine over here recruiting Maul, and so you get Maul's origin story there, where he came from, him and his brother and everything. And you see kind of the inner workings of the Sith, and that all ties back to Darth Bane, right? And that rule of two, because even in the Darth Bane books, he's studying, trying to find a way to at least live long enough to make sure he's got an apprentice that's able to take him. So that's where he tries to take over her mind and study that. And then we fast forward to Plagueis, still going by rule of two. Bane had always said that eventually the Sith would take over, and we see that happen with Palpatine. So and that's in that book in Plagueis. So.
But let's remember, he only took over for 20 years. That's not a very long time. Like we were watching. I can't remember. I think Olivia and I were watching that episode of The Bad Batch or whatever, and I was like, it's cool and all, but when you think about it, an empire that lasts for 20 years wasn't a very successful empire. The British Empire lasted quite a bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. So
it makes you, the thing I always think about is how the hell, and I know it's because it's propaganda, right? Which from his political background, he's key at that. Do you just completely wipe out any knowledge of Jedi in 20 years, right? I mean, like completely stripped everything of it. And it talks about that. So
yeah, I think part of it was just because the Jedi Order was very secretive. I don't know that I think they were known as diplomats, but they were unknown to a lot of people even during the time of the Republic.
Mm-hmm.
They were early, as far as I understand, they were mystical. They existed. They weren't like myths.
Yeah.
But you saw them,
Yeah.
but you didn't understand them. Like people that weren't in that world just.
Yeah, even like in the High Republic era that that I'm going through, that they're always talked about, is more like just a magician or something that is almost something you talk about in fables, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of just carries on.
Yeah. Like
and then the one other thing I'm sorry, Brendan.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the one other thing, we kind of talked about it in chat before, and he is canon, so we didn't add him to this list, but I would love to see them do a Vader series. I mean, and I want Vader, like we saw Rogue One, just beating down on some Republic troops and just going ham, taking some Jedi. I mean, I want Disney to stop giving me these, for lack of a better word, cookie cutter kid characters that are the heroes, and give me that villain that Vader is supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, we know we're getting our first like dark show, right? With the end of the Republic, but it would be really cool to actually see the hunt, right? We got some of that with the Rebel shows and things like that. But to really see them take that to live action with them doing the hunting down of the Jedis or whatever it may be, it would be really really cool to see that.
Yeah, saw a little bit of it in Obi-Wan as well.
Yeah. See the Inquisitors.
Well, and that's what's interesting. Right, but that's what's interesting with the Inquisitors, right? Is they are tasked with going out and hunting down Jedi, but you've seen time and time again, especially in Rebels, when they come up against an actually trained Jedi, like Ahsoka is able to take 3 on at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's child's play to them. So that's where Vader would have to step in, and that duel in season 2 of Rebels with Vader and Ahsoka is just phenomenal.
Okay.
But even like Obi-Wan, once we saw the Obi-Wan series, and now he's back in tune with the Force, there's no way an Inquisitor would be able to take Obi-Wan.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you even saw eventually where Maul couldn't even do it. So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we mentioned, the comics. The comics have tried to dip into that. Right after Marvel took over, they did the first big crossover, which was the Vader Down series, and you get to see Vader be a badass in that one. I mean, he literally force grabs a fighter out of the air and slams it to the ground, and just takes on an entire platoon of rebel troops, because he is.
We get glimpses of that, right? I mean. Yeah. We saw that in Rogue One when the door opens, and then obviously they mirrored that scene with Luke in Mandalorian. I mean, that was phenomenal. Yeah. But then even in the Obi-Wan series, when he's trying to stop the starship, he yanks it down, rips the door off. I mean, even when he fought the sister, He didn't even use his saber. He was
Yeah,
just
he was
sitting there toying with her the
He was
entire
just playing
time.
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's the and the crazy part is
He's not even that powerful.
well
comparatively.
had Obi-Wan not like mutilated him
Yeah.
and like
Chopped off 2 legs and an arm.
yeah, and he was more him.
He would have been way more powerful.
He would have been way more powerful. Like
Yeah.
luckily Obi-Wan kind of took him down a couple of notches before he.
It's crazy. They talk
into
about that fact that the Force is more about going through your flesh and stuff like that, and how that makes you more powerful. But in the newer Brotherhood book, they talked about that a lot, with Anakin having to get used to using his mechanical arm to control the Force, and how much weaker he felt using it.
Yeah.
And how the connection just wasn't there like it was through actual flesh. So it would have been interesting to see like a what if of Anakin full power
Yeah.
Sith. He just would have been
Which
so OP, I think.
Return of the Jedi, you catch glimpses of that. That was the whole reason, Palpatine decided he wanted to turn Luke,
Mm-hmm.
because his pet project of Anakin had failed.
Yeah.
As powerful as Vader was, to Palpatine, Vader was not who he wanted him to be. He was not the powerhouse that he thought he could be. So he was going to move on to his son. I don't know if that was his original plan. I think Lucas kind of played it a little fast and loose, because towards the end of the original trilogy, he even kind of retconned some stuff towards the end. So yeah, basically best character is Vader. So there we go. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for the Unknown Comics Podcast, episode 72. Ryan, thank you so much for being here and chatting with us about nerdy Star Wars stuff and everything. It was awesome to have you. And I'm glad we got to do it. We will definitely do it again sometime real soon, because you're cooler than Darren.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. I like the guy.
If Darren stops saying Baby Yoda and maybe says Grogu every once in a while.
Yeah. So
I will teach Darren the ways. He's going to be in Mexico, so I'll work on him there. He'll be at Orlando, so I'll work on him there. And then we'll be at Star Wars Celebration, so I'll work on him there. So.
You got plenty of opportunities to hammer it into him. I don't know. He's pretty stubborn, and when he decides he doesn't want to learn something, he's pretty good about not learning something.
Yeah, he's just like that meme where it's like, Grogu, Baby Yoda.
Yeah. But again, thanks for joining us. If you are watching us live, if you happen to miss us live, you can definitely catch us. The recorded podcast will be on YouTube the next day, and will also be available in audio form wherever you download audio podcasts. If you are listening to us after the fact, and you want to join in the chat with us live, we do this every Thursday, most Thursdays, at 7 p.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Just search for Unknown Comic Books on all 3 of those platforms, and you'll find us. Thanks again for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.